Alright all, and welcome back to a new video and the start of a new series on the channel, which is going to be called Under the Radar, and it's going to be just a fair few quick, short, snappy videos previewing, I suppose, horses that I think have gone under the radar, hopefully for this year's flat campaign. And also I'll be doing a set of videos going in depth into the 2020-2021 National Hunt season. I'm trying to keep things positive here. Obviously it's tough times at the moment, both here in Ireland and in the UK. I hope everyone's staying safe in these times, but I'm still trying to keep optimistic in terms of when racing will hopefully come back. It might come back behind closed doors, probably will be coming back behind closed doors, but I'm hoping that might still be in kind of maybe June time, so we still get a fair crack at the flat season and then into the National Hunt season come that October, November time. So we start off, as you guys probably know from the title of the video, this is 5 under the radar 3-year-old horses for this year's flat campaign. As I say, I'm trying to keep spirits up in terms of that these seasons are going to happen, and you know, we're going to get a good flat campaign to get stuck into. The reasoning behind these videos, I suppose, is to keep content up, to keep interaction between myself and yourself up, but also to try and find horses that maybe haven't been talked about quite as much as some have done. You know, one that springs to mind for me is that John Gosden horse, Wall Koenig, the half-brother to Volgeist, who won at Chelmsford before Christmas time. He won very easily, everyone's putting him up for the Derby, that sort of stuff. Everyone knows about him, so I'm trying to find you horses that maybe you haven't previously heard about or haven't heard that much about. I suppose with this though, not all of these are going to be Group 1 horses, and I'm not saying that they will be. I'm just saying that hopefully in these types of videos I'll put you up 5 horses and they'll end up paying their way for you if you were to back them throughout the season. So we're going to do the flat campaign first. We're going to do 3-year-olds, then there'll be a 4-year-olds plus video, and then there will be a handicappers video, and then I'll do all the different novice hurdles, novice chasers, etc, etc. I'll do probably 4 or 5 for the jumps racing as well. So going in to the 5 under the radar 3-year-olds for this year's 2020 flat campaign, starting off with a horse trained by Gerard Keane over here in Ireland, the father of Colin Keane, obviously the former champion jockey, and he's got himself a decent enough horse on his hands here, Gerard Keane, in the shape of Eloy Damerval, I think. This horse won a maiden at Naas back in September time over 6 furlongs, beating a horse called Johan Savani of Michael O'Callaghan. Now, previous to that, he'd won a barrier trial, which seemed to becoming more and more prevalent and relevant in Irish flat racing. And I suppose for a horse like a 2-year-old for Gerard Keane, like Gerard Keane wouldn't have that many kind of winning first time out 2-year-olds, but this horse went and won a barrier trial, and then he was backed from around 20 to 1 into 8 to 1 on the day of his maiden, and he won by a head. As I say, the horse he beat was Johan Savani. He's a solid kind of stick of a horse. He probably should have won a race by now. He hasn't, but he's still a very solid, consistent horse. Was only within a length and a half of a good horse in Hong Kong the time after that. Eloy Damerval himself hasn't been seen since, so it'll be interesting to see, kind of, was something wrong with him? Maybe he's coming back. They just wanted to win a maiden with him last year and save him. Hopefully he becomes a better 3-year-old in time. As I say, Gerard Keane wouldn't be kind of renowned for having many first-time out 2-year-old winners, so therefore Eloy Damerval could well be one to watch this year. Also coming from Ireland is a Jessica Harrington filly. Now, she had a brilliant year with fillies, and obviously you're going to think of Albinia, you're going to think of KM Pepper, maybe Alpine Star, but one that maybe you wouldn't have thought about is a horse called Valeria Messalina. Now, the reason I've come down on Valeria Messalina, because on her debut she beat a horse called Now the King, also trained by Michael O'Callaghan, by a head. Now, in my last Q&A video, I put up Now the King as a horse to watch on the flat this year, before realising that the horse has been actually sold to Hong Kong and is no longer called Now the King. He's called Delightful Lace, L-A-O-S, that second name. But anyway, I really liked Now the King, and this horse, she beat her by a head on debut and then lost by a head to a Mark Johnson filly called Rosa Kildare in the Oh So Sharp Stakes at Newmarket after that. That wasn't probably a vintage renewal of the Oh So Sharp, and also the fact, obviously, that Jess Carrington has a embarrassment of riches when it comes to 3-year-old fillies this year. But this filly has snuck a bit under the radar, and perhaps there's improvement to come, and I'd like to see where she'll end up turning up this year. The third horse on the list is from John Gosden, and I suppose this one is probably the most obvious of the five, because obviously it's not Volconic, as I've previously mentioned, but it's another horse that won very impressively at Chelmsford just before Christmas, and it's a horse called Hypothetical, who I think is a really, really good horse. He beat a horse called London Arch by 6 lengths over a mile. London Arch has gone out to win since for Charlie Fellows, and this could be a really, really good horse, I think. He's got plenty of improvement to come from that effort. He was green in the early stages of that race before knuckling down to win very easily in the end. And just when it comes down to it, you know, those Gosden and Rab Havlin 2-year-olds, certainly late in the season, you know, it's not the end of the day if they don't win first time out. They're not fully tuned up for that. The fact that he won so impressively, I think there's a big, big future in the shape of Hypothetical. One coming out of the Roger Varian stable is our next one, another colt in the shape of Zagallo, who opened up his took away his maiden tag at the third time of asking when winning at Nottingham. Previous to that, he was third to a decent horse called Cherokee Trail at Ascot before second to another good horse of Mark Johnson's called Don't Ask Me Again at Beverley. He got the job done well on his third start, beating a horse called Phoenix Aquilus, who's gone on to finish third since. The form of that race hasn't actually been tested too much, so it's hard to know what to make of it, to be honest, but I suppose it was a 1 mile maiden at Nottingham, and he could only beat what he did, and he beat them by 2 lengths. He seems to be improving from run to run, and hopefully could work into maybe being a fairly decent handicapper in some of the big heritage handicaps to follow this year. And finally, our fifth one and last one for today's video is a Dermot Weld horse called Sheckham. Now, this horse took 4 goes to break his maiden tag, but he beat a horse called Louisiana when he did so by 2.5 lengths at the Listowel Festival, and Louisiana's gone on to win a maiden himself very easily since. But really, the taking bit of form with this Sheckham was when he was second to Inish Free in the Beresford, only beaten ahead. Now, Inish Free went on to finish second in the Racing Post Trophy after that, and also was a leading contender for the Derby this year if the Derby does go ahead. This Sheckham was really free that day, had no right to really finish as close as he did to Inish Free, but did so, which shows that there's a lot of ability, I think, there in the tank, and hopefully Sheckham can go on to give Dermot Weld some decent days in the sun this summer when we get back at it. Perhaps maybe a Group 2, Group 3 horse, hopefully, down the line. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did so, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, as is the case with these Under the Radar videos, I want to know what your Under the Radar horse is for the year for a flat 3-year-old. I know it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but if you do have one, please do put it in the comments below. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to get interacting with you guys as per the usual. And until next time, where we'll be covering the flat 4-year-olds and up that maybe you mightn't have thought about, hope you guys stay safe, stay lucky, and until then, best of luck.